Huddle with Bill Michaels.
We only got a couple of them left. This is one of them. This week, next week, we're off to San Francisco. And then it is Super Bowl 60. And then we are all done. And that will wrap the NFL season, at least get us into the regular season, postseason. Then it'll get us into the offseason. But nevertheless, we got a lot of good stuff coming up tonight. On the Huddle, we have all kinds of things to discuss. We have got, obviously the coaching search for the defensive coordinator. You've got more, nothing really breaking this afternoon regarding that. Just, there's names that are out there for Matt LaFleur and such. So you've got that. And in addition to that, you have got the coaching search, the carousel, if you will, that continues to spin throughout the National Football League. And that is continuing as we speak. And there's others that are being interviewed and considered. And then there's also going to be candidates that are still playing this weekend. And you've got a couple of an AFC and an NFC championship game. So you may have somebody coming off of the Patriots staff or the Broncos staff or, off of the Rams staff or the Seahawks staff that are still yet to be interviewed. So there's a lot going on right now in the coaching carousel, and things are quiet in Green Bay, to be perfectly honest with you. Things are, you kind of thought that there might be, a few names that are out there right away, like, hey, boom, 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 we're going to make some changes. This is what's going on. And it hasn't really happened. It hasn't happened, at least not fast, as many people would have thought, or maybe it's not going to happen at all. Hey, John says hello from northeastern Pennsylvania. Northeastern, we got some kind of a crazy, massive snowfall that's going to come through from down near New Mexico all the way up through the mid portion of the country and then up the eastern seaboard. So hopefully you're out of the way of that, John. But yeah, northeastern Pennsylvania, that's not a good place to be. I think you're going to get a ton of snow there. So stay safe, I guess might be the best way to put it. If you want to chime in, you can. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can find us there. You can also text us, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. On YouTube, you can find us there. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under The Bill Michaels Show. You can find us on Twitter, on X, @Bill_Michaels. Find Grant @Wisco Grant. And then also, don't forget, you've got the Twitch app, the Kick app, the LinkedIn app as well that we are on. Our app, which is Wisco Sports Zone. And then you can also track us down via email, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. The website, simply thebillmichaels.com. We are a television show, My24 TV in Milwaukee, and that airs on Saturday nights, 8 o'clock Central Time. Saturday night, 8 o'clock Central Time. So plenty of ways to find us. So there you have it. 877-867-1670. John says, yep, looking forward to the snowfall this weekend. Got the whiskey and the cigars ready. So there you go. And also, Wisco Grebe says, looking for 8 to 12 inches here in Massachusetts, Sunday through Monday. Oh, man. Hey, well, that's a ton. I know we got a couple of inches here last night. We're going to get a couple more tonight, but I think that's about the extent of it. I don't think we have a whole lot more after that. At least I hope we don't. Last year, I only fired up my snowblower like twice. This year, I think I've done it 5 or 6 times already. So how are we looking to everybody on the stream, everybody listening to us all throughout the great state of Wisconsin, and the Hoodie brother himself, as I changed after the show today, Grant Bills standing by. I got my Point Bach Run shirt on.
I was going to say, you look very comfortable and cozy for the evening show. I mean, I just don't dress as nice as you. Just normally day to day. So you've come down to my level for this evening show, which I appreciate.
There you go. I just, I got off the air today, made a little something to eat, did a lot of paperwork and office stuff today, and then got out of here for about a half an hour and then came back in and back at it again. So we only have 2 of these left. It's funny because we sit throughout the entire off season. We obviously love NFL content, which is pretty much 24/7, but you get to that point once you get done with the draft, where you do get some OTAs and mini camps, but that space between the end of the combine and the draft, and you're kind of pining for, NFL stuff. You got baseball stuff, you got Brewers stuff, you got the end of the Bucs season and such. You got college basketball in March and everything, and we're going through the March Madness picks and stuff. But between the end of the combine, the end of February, and then actually into April, where you get to the end of April and you get into the NFL draft, you got that down period. And then you've got right after that last
mandatory minicamp at the end of June. Then you've got all of July until you get into training camp where you've got nothing. You're just like, oh my God, I need to you want the NFL season so bad. And then you get it and you're like, oh, this is great. And before the blink of an eye, next thing you know, it's over. It's over. So I can't believe we're already sitting here at the end of the football season. It seems like just yesterday they made the trade for Michael Parsons. We were breaking the news and it was crazy. But man, oof. A couple of things. What are your thoughts in hearing that Mike McCarthy is the front runner now for the Pittsburgh job?
Love it.
I feel good for Mike. I mean, kudos to him. To be able to get that job and kind of go back to where, if you talk about a Pittsburgh guy through and through, that's Mike. That's Mike. So, you wish him nothing but the best. He doesn't have a quarterback unless Aaron Rodgers comes back. I can't imagine that happening. But, I guess I would be stunned if Rodgers did and came back for that. But Pittsburgh has said they want him back. They'd welcome him back. Do you think he'd come back and play for McCarthy to end his career?
I think it's more likely that he would come back to play for McCarthy than some other coach. Because Rodgers, listen to him talk. He loves to reminisce. Mm-hmm. He loves to talk about. I think he would come back to play with McCarthy just because he knows that him and Mike could sit around and talk about the good old days and the way the league used to be. And I think Rodgers would love that. Yeah.
I had, when I heard that Mike McCarthy seriously the front runner, I thought, is there a reason why? Is there a reason why?
Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah. And I'm like, other than the Pittsburgh guy, I'm like, the offense was criticized after Brian Schottenheimer took over. People in Dallas were like, we're finally being creative and they're using Pickens in different ways and Des Bryant in different, or not Des Bryant, but CeeDee Lamb in different ways. And, Dak Prescott talked about how much Mike meant to his career, but, how they've opened up things in the offense. And I'm thinking, man, it's kind of a very backhanded way of saying your offense wasn't great. And so I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe it's kind of passed Mike McCarthy by, not a lot of motion, not a lot of movement, not much of anything. And it got stagnant. He got criticized heavily on the way out. I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, now you want to go kind of new. You want to rebuild. You're going to go innovatively. Why would you bring in Mike McCarthy for that? He's not a defensive guy. Why would you bring in Mike McCarthy for that system?
Do you think that's what Pittsburgh wants to do? That's what we think most teams, we want someone creative, cutting edge. Do you think that's what Pittsburgh's prioritizing? Because I don't know that we can safely assume that.
I don't know. But if say Aaron Rodgers is teetering and the guys in that locker room wanted him back, wanted Rodgers to come back, can you imagine if Rodgers said, hey, go get me McCarthy, let's bury the hatchet because, whatever there was, animosity was, because at least Mike and I worked well together and I knew what Mike was going to do and he knew what I was going to do, and we can get this thing going. And Mike, maybe had a good vision when it comes to personnel or something. I don't know. But I'm kind of like, wow, okay. That might be a viability and a possibility when it comes to, did Aaron Rodgers call for that?
What do you think the percentage would be that the Steelers could win a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers next year?
Oh, next year? I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, exactly.
Not unless they really make some wholesale changes.
So unless I'd be a Steelers fan looking at that, it's like, okay, so we're not going to win the Super Bowl and we're not getting younger. We're not getting newer. We're not getting smarter. We're just kind of, it wouldn't be that different from what they were just doing with Tomlin. Right. You know what I mean? Like, just keep Tomlin if that's what you were going to do. So exactly. I would appreciate the frustration from Steelers fans. I would like it for the entertainment. And again, I'm not sure that we can assume that the Steelers, the ownership in the front office is going to get younger and more cutting. They might just want to continue to do Steelers things, and McCarthy would be that.
Now, here's the thing. They have the 9th most cap room in the NFL going into next season. They got quite a few guys that are coming off their cap, and they've got almost 47, 48 million, if I read correctly, that they can go out and spend money. They can go out and grab free agents if they choose to do so. So if they wanted to go out, keep what they have, go out, because we know they've already signed some of their guys. So they've got TJ Watt and those guys. Those guys are pretty much locked up for a while. So, because TJ Watt will be their biggest moneymaker next year. If Aaron Rodgers, decides not to take all the money or something, it's not, because he always said it wasn't about the money. So TJ Watt next year, by the way, is making $40+ million. He's making $42 million. DK Metcalf's making 31 next year.
And I bet those are both extensions that any reasonable person running Pittsburgh would think, I wish we wouldn't have done that. I wish we would have traded TJ Watt. I wish we wouldn't have paid DK Metcalf all that money.
So you've got, don't forget, they brought Jalen Ramsey in. They've got Cam Hayward not locked up, Alex Highsmith locked up, Patrick Queen locked up, Freiermuth is locked up, the tight end. I mean, they've got they're top heavy, but they got a lot of guys making a lot of money. And, like I said, Aaron Rodgers is, again, a free agent. He signed a 1-year deal to play for them. Now, if he wanted to come back, he would have to, obviously take some of that cap away. But it's kind of like, I look at it this way. Pittsburgh, this window with those guys and TJ Watt and company, this is it. If you don't win it this year, you're not winning it. It's time to start tearing it down, trading guys away, whatever it is you need to do. This is it. Because you don't have a quarterback. You've got Watt, who's older, Metcalf, who's older, Alex Highsmith, who's older, Cam Hayward, who's a little bit older. You got a lot of guys that are making a lot of money that are all older. You don't have a real quarterback. You got, who is it? Mason Rudolph, I think. I think Mason Rudolph is their backup quarterback. You got Mason Rudolph, who's there. Everybody there is pretty old. So maybe you run it back one more time. You try to fortify it, with Rodgers, getting minimal money, and you say, hey, let's run it back one time. Find some youth, find some other free agents to bring in. What do you need? Let's help you out, and let's just go for this damn thing. Because after that, I think you got to blow that whole thing up. And is McCarthy the guy you want to do that? If you're going to blow it all up? I don't know if I'd do that.
Again, we're assuming that Pittsburgh is operating like any other franchise would.
Right.
A lot of smart franchises would say, it's the end of the road with these old players, and it's time to take our medicine and get some draft picks and get younger. Pittsburgh might just think, all right, now that Tomlin's on the way, we're going to keep chugging along. Maybe that's not what Tomlin wanted to do. And that's part of the reason why he wanted out of there.
Right.
Because the Steelers didn't fire him, at least the way it was framed. He left. So I don't know. I kind of hope that the Steelers do this because it would be entertaining. And I'm not going to assume that the Steelers are acting like any other franchise is acting, because they're the Steelers. They're different.
Yeah. I don't know. But it's interesting. And I agree with you. I'd root, if McCarthy went there, I'd root like hell for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Great story. Great theater. Yeah. Way more interesting than like they hire Chris Shula or whatever. Give me a break. That doesn't do anything for me.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, unless they went with some young, up and coming, some kind of coordinator that they said, look, we're going to start bringing in a bunch of youth. We're going to do this. We're going to trim the tree. I mean, I would not want to be there for that. I mean, if Mike McCarthy wants to coach there, because usually they hire guys in their 30s and then stick with them for 20 years. That's what they've done. They've only got 4 coaches. This will be their 4th coach. Chuck Noll. Tomlin was there for what, 18 years? 19 years, something like that. Bill Cowher in between that. And that's it. There is no more. Crazy. They don't burn through them at all, man. They just have this sustained success, and they go with the ups and downs and live with it and kind of go from there. But McCarthy, he's not young. He's not going to be there for 15 years. That's for damn sure. So it would just kind of be a change of view for them, outlook for them, I guess, if they ended up doing that. 877-867-1670, but that's one of the stories that's out there today. Mike McCarthy possibly going out as the front runner for the Pittsburgh Steelers. No word yet as to what the Green Bay Packers are going to do when it comes to their defensive coordinator. They're interviewing. There's people to talk about. I don't know if anybody out there has a particular front runner. I know I saw Barry Alvarez very much giving an endorsement to Jim Leonhard. Jim Leonhard, obviously, as we had mentioned a little bit earlier, he is the defensive assistant head coach and defensive. What is his total title? He's not the defensive coordinator. He's what for the
passing game coordinator and assistant head coach.
And assistant head coach. I knew he wasn't the coordinator, but the assistant head coach, and that makes him now. somebody did tell me, they said if you made him defensive coordinator and assistant head coach, that would be a step up. Therefore, you could go talk to him. And I didn't realize that. Now, I'm taking this person's word at it. I don't know for sure. I'm claiming ignorance here. But if you would then make him the total overall defensive coordinator and assistant head coach, it would technically be a step up from his titles that he holds now as a defensive passing game coordinator. So I don't know if it's just semantics or what, but if that's the case, you still could go talk to him if you chose to do so. But I know Barry Alvarez was endorsing Jim Leonard. So anyway, that's at least off to a fast start tonight when it comes to the huddle. Coming up bottom of the hour, Matthew Coller from a Purple Insider, Mark Schofield a little bit later on today. No Mike Clemens tonight. Mike, end of the season, Mike does yeoman's work. So unless Mike's driving around and says, you know what, I'm going to give him a call. No Mike Clemens on the docket tonight. So we've got no Mike, but we got a whole lot more of discussion regarding the NFL, regarding what's coming up this weekend. Championship weekend, conference championship weekend. You've got all of our picks, I should say, that are going to be coming up. And the Patriots 11-5 going up against Denver. They're 4-1 against Denver, or Denver is against New England, I should say. 4-1. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, some of the matchups that are coming. And don't forget about the NFC Championship game. The Rams come into this thing at 14-5 on the road at number 1 Seattle. And the Rams, with the aging veteran, Matthew Stafford, who is having an MVP year, and apparently all the voting is come in. And it looks like Matthew Stafford is going to be the guy when they make the announcements out there on Thursday night out in San Francisco. When they announce the season's MVP, it looks like Matthew Stafford is indeed going to be the winner, but going up against Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, and they just came off of a blowout victory over the 49ers. So we got all of that to discuss tonight. Sit back, relax, light the fire, whatever it is you're doing, hang in there with us. Got a lot more of the huddle coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
Oh, yeah. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Well, we got some news. Welcome back to Huddle on a Wednesday night. Speaking of former Packers, Al Harris, who is now as the secondaries coach for the Chicago Bears, apparently interviewed with the Packers for their open defensive coordinator job. There's some news for you. How about that?
So word comes through that that happened. Adam Schefter said the Packers interviewed defensive backs coach Al Harris today. That was about a few hours ago. Well, no, about 15 minutes ago, as a matter of fact. He just posted that. Not even. Saying that Al Harris has gotten a shot. So that's out there. So, okay. Maybe casting a wide net. Brian Flores, by the way, has signed a contract extension with the Vikings. Brian Flores off the board as a defensive coordinator. If he does not receive a head coaching job in this cycle, he's going to be back as the team's defensive coordinator per sources. That's according to Diana Rossini. Diana Rossini breaking that one. So that leaves, Raheem Morris floating around out there. My understanding is that if Jim Leonard is indeed a candidate, I don't know when the window was. I don't know if it's this week or it was after last weekend's games, but teams cannot talk to coaches that are still in the postseason. So you can't talk to them until they're eliminated. So if Jim Leonard is indeed on the radar for Matt LaFleur and company, then maybe his defensive coordinator positions, it kind of lingers on this weekend. If they get beat, he can immediately begin interviewing with whomever. If they don't, then they can't touch him or talk to him until after the Super Bowl. Just FYI. So you've got that. Al Harris, as we know, just the former Green Bay Packer, talked to the Packers today. Christian Parker, the Eagles defensive back passing game coordinator, he's a guy of interest. Jonathan Gannon is another guy of interest. So there's quite a few names that are out there. And then you've got in-house guys like Derek Ainsley. So he was the defensive coordinator for the Chargers going back to 2023. He's on the staff right now. Christian Parker, who I'd mentioned. I'm sorry, Christian Parker I already mentioned. Durante Jones, the defensive passing game coordinator for Minnesota, is a guy that is being looked at also. So any of those names trip the trigger, Grant?
I kind of like Flores' number 2 in Minnesota. Matt Coller, we'll hear that coming up next, but he was singing his praises. I kind of like the idea of that. And interestingly enough, a guy who also has a Wisconsin background, Durante Jones. Yeah. So if you can get a good guy, a guy you believe in, and also weaken your rival, like, all right. I don't know. I really like the sound of that.
So there you go. So that's kind of the list of names that are being floated. I don't know if I've missed anybody on that list, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been kind of fast and furious as to who's going where and changing, but Flores coming off the board as any kind of a defensive coordinator for anybody else. So, hearing that, which makes sense. You kind of wondered why he had not signed yet. And you thought, well, maybe he says, look, if I don't get the head coaching job somewhere else, remember, he was a guy that was also being interviewed for the Pittsburgh job, for the head coaching job over there. If he doesn't get it, then why would he want to leave Minnesota? Why would he want to be that kind of a free agent? So maybe they just said, hey, look, go pursue this. Go be great if you can. If you get the job, great. We'll start searching elsewhere. But at least give us the guarantee contractually that if you don't get it, you'll come back. And so that apparently has kind of been finalized. So we'll wait for the official, verification, I guess, on that. But Diana Rossini saying that it's all but a done deal. So there you go there. Man, that's For a fast out of the chute on a huddle, that's a lot of information we've just thrown at you. So
I don't understand because apparently, so here's the weird thing. I'm reading reporting on Flores, and I guess they basically came to terms on this contract last week, but they agreed to it finally today.
Okay.
Does that mean there's still a chance? Like, what if Pittsburgh offers him the job?
And I think part of it is if he does not get a head coaching job, then he'll go back as their defensive coordinator.
So is it just a leverage play?
It's just
in case he gets offered a head coaching job, he can say, well, this is what Minnesota was willing to pay me. You have to beat that. Like, what's the point of dealing with, you're doing the contract until you for sure know that you're getting a head coaching job?
Well, there's two reasons. One is security for him. Let's just say that other teams are like, we can't wait. So they start hiring defensive coordinators, and he waits to find out if he's got a head coaching job. And the next thing you know, he doesn't. So it's guaranteed for him that he's got a job. He just waits to see if he can actually, expound upon it. And for them, it guarantees that nobody else is going to get their guy if indeed he doesn't get that head coaching job. So I guess it's a win-win for both. Unless, of course, the Vikings think we've got our guy and he's not going anywhere because we don't think he's going to get a head coaching job. And then lo and behold, in the 12th hour, he does, and then they're out. You know what I mean? They're out of the carousel, so to speak, of the defensive coordinators that are on the list. So but it seems like it would be, I don't think if I'm Flores, I don't think I sign it. And I don't think the Vikings sign it either if they really believe he's going to get a head coaching job. Remember, he's got that lawsuit with the NFL hanging over his head. And that's something that weighs heavy on any team that takes him. Because I'm not saying you're blackballed or whatever, but you get that side eye from the commissioner because of it. Because remember,
from all the owners, that's such a boys club too.
Exactly. Because you're really, really going against everybody, going against the grain on that. Because there, but for the grace of God, can any owner go? So, but you give him credit because remember, he left Miami because he said, "I'm not tanking. You're not going to tell me to go out and lose games on purpose." That's what they wanted me to do. The owner brought him down to whatever the owner's name was. He brought him down to his boat and was trying to force him into saying you're going to tank the season. He's like, I'm not tanking anything. I want to play to win. So, and that began the beginning of the end. And again, like I said, Adam Schefter just about 15 minutes ago saying that Al Harris has interviewed indeed for the Packers job. So that's rather interesting. So we got a lot spinning right now, and things are. I kind of felt. Are you surprised that the Packers have not made any other moves?
Firings?
You really thought you'd hear something by now if they were.
I guess no. I guess I'm not surprised. No.
I
mean, what are we expecting? Firing Stanovich, or who are we expecting to cut loose?
You're kind of waiting to see, like, if Versace is going to be there. Stanovich, Butkus, those guys. There's been a lot of talk, at least outwardly, maybe not inwardly, but outwardly about the job, so to speak. You're kind of waiting. You kind of thought there might be something there, but for all the people that I guess were pointing the finger and saying, well, they're not going anywhere, or they want a change made, there hasn't been anything. The only thing they're looking for right now is defensive coordinator, and that's it. So, other staffs have made changes. Defensive coordinators have been cut loose. Offensive coordinators have been cut loose. They're out there. Packers, crickets, nothing. Nothing's going on right now.
I think Stanovich and Versace both are going to be back, but call me crazy. I just don't think they're cutting these guys loose. So I guess that's why I'm not surprised. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of like, well, I guess they aren't going to make changes. They're going to run it back with the whole group and a new defensive coordinator, which is interesting. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back. It's a Wednesday night. The Huddle's on. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself, maybe sitting down at dinner, enjoying a beverage, watching, because really not a whole lot of sports on. Other than that, just hang out with us. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up next.
Let we go. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Phil Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in on a Wednesday edition. Bill Michaels Show. Changes are coming in the NFC North. You got a change at the top. You got a change in coordinators in Green Bay. You've got, the question marks regarding the quarterback in Minnesota. There's going to be some change there, obviously. You've got changes coming in. A new coordinator, offensive coordinator, was added in Detroit. So we got a lot to talk about. Matthew Coller from the Purple Insider going to be joining us in just a second. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. The sports book is open. If you're looking for a great place to go and watch the games this weekend or the big game coming up in a couple of weeks, Super Bowl 60, that is a great place to go. And if you haven't seen the screen in there, it is as big as the screen that hovers above Jerry World down at AT&T Stadium. It's massive. And again, I've said this before, and I really, truly mean it. When we were out in Vegas and doing the sports books and all that stuff out there for the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, this sports book is by far better than any Vegas sports book. It's an amazing venue that they've put together down there at Potawatomi, and it's huge. So check it out. Gaming, sports book, restaurants, music, hotel. They got live music, DJs thumping, the whole thing. That's Potawatomi Sports Book, Potawatomi Hotel, Potawatomi Casino. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. There you go. All right, let's do this. Joining us on the hotline, the Purple Insider, covering the Minnesota Vikings and the NFC North, Matthew Coller now joining us. Matthew, how you doing, pal?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Isn't it funny how the season ends, but then it doesn't end because things keep happening, and it's been a little confusing over here about what's going on at defensive coordinator. But I guess we're all better off than what's happening in Buffalo. So we'll see.
Well, that's where I'm going to start. Is the coordinator position in Minnesota? Is Flores just not? Why are they not renewing him?
Oh, they want to. They have wanted to for a very long time. I mean, this even goes back to training camp where, you had, I guess last offseason, you had Kevin O'Connell sign an extension, their offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips, sign an extension, and then a little while later, their general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, sign an extension, and the odd man out was Brian Flores. And I guess throughout the year, we thought, well, at some point, his agent, the team will get to some middle ground and they'll, have an extension or whatever. And it just never happened. And, then we get to the end of the season and Kevin O'Connell says that they're being, quote, very aggressive in trying to keep Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator. Well, obviously supporting him with a chance to get a head coaching job, but he could still sign a defensive coordinator contract and then leave if he got a head coaching job. And I think the real eyebrow raiser is that he took an interview with the Washington Commanders for their defensive coordinator position, which would be, of course, a lateral move for him. So right now, he's a free agent. He's wide open. The Packers could hire him if they wanted to anytime. And I can't remember a coordinator of this caliber. I would put Brian Flores easily in the top 5 defensive coordinators in the entire NFL, if not the best in the entire league, just becoming a free agent to where anybody could hire them. And, there's a lot of speculation. Is there something going on the inside? Does Brian Flores not believe in the direction of the team with J.J. McCarthy? There were certainly some rumors about, dissenting voices when it came to letting Sam Darnold go inside the building. So you wonder, Flores, who really got along great with Sam Darnold, was he unhappy about that? And then, sees the results from J.J. McCarthy and thinks we're all going to get fired next year. So, maybe wants to go take a look at different jobs. But, or maybe the guy who is very, very schematic, maybe he just schemed this right for him to have, any opportunity with a very high dollar figure as a free agent. So it might be kind of the simplest possible explanation there, but it certainly is interesting, and everybody's just waiting around to see. There is a thought that if he does not get the Steelers job, that he will come back to the Vikings, but with all the moving and shaking still going on with head coaching positions, somebody could get a job and say, I want Brian Flores, and we'll, lay down a certain amount of money and a certain amount of, power and say in the roster, and he could possibly leave.
So let's go to J.J. McCarthy. And I heard what you heard. Obviously you're closer to it, but there was some dissension as to whether or not McCarthy actually is the guy. This year, he didn't show many quarters of great football. There was a lot of bad mixed in with a few quarters of good. Give me your assessment of J.J. McCarthy.
I think that Kevin O'Connell put it the best when he said nowhere close to our standard. I think that the performance from J.J. McCarthy was reflective of a lot of quarterbacks of similar caliber prospects who failed very quickly. And as I've been kind of doing my research and looking for comparables, because look, I mean, guys who were drafted number 1 overall are not comparable to J.J. McCarthy. He was QB5. He came to a team that won 14 games that has Justin Jefferson. It's not like when Jared Goff was drafted number 1 by the horrible Rams or something, right? And then played poorly in his first year. It's not like Bryce Young going to a completely tanking and rebuilding Carolina team. This was a team ready, set to win. And when you put up numbers like that, I mean, here's a crazy stat for you. His first 10 starts have the exact same quarterback rating as Christian Ponder. So that tells you, I think, where, right, exactly. And I was looking up some numbers yesterday of just how far away the Vikings are from the teams playing in championship weekend. And the answer is that, I mean, J.J. McCarthy would have to become Superman this offseason. And when you think about how much time there is to really improve, I mean, we're only talking about a couple months here. And I think it wasn't just the throwing of the ball, which was inaccurate. The number of sacks, he actually took more sacks than Bo Nix this year and played about a third of the snaps. So it wasn't just the mistakes that were made. It was also some of the things with his connection with Kevin O'Connell that just made you raise an eyebrow. There were times where O'Connell talked about him not doing what he was coached to. There was, some just immature kind of things. And I don't mean like off the field or whatever. I mean like immature in the NFL, act like you've been there before. Him getting a taunting penalty in an exhibition game in the last game of the season that the Vikings really wanted to win for Harrison Smith. And he takes a penalty on a 9-yard run because he's just jumping around like an idiot. And you're like, have you grown up at all throughout this season? It feels to me like they would like to give him a training camp battle with someone, but look at how the NFL is acting toward head coaches. They're firing them when they win playoff games. Right. Are you serious? So can you go into next year with that guy as your quarterback, assuming that he's going to beat the Packers and beat the Lions and beat the Bears? Like, I don't know. I just don't see how they could possibly stake their entire careers on someone who is immature and inaccurate and was injured. I mean, mostly for most of his career so far, he's been injured.
Whose call was that? I mean, to take him, was that a general manager only call? Was that Kevin O'Connell? And why was there such a quick release on Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold to say, this is our guy, and have that kind of belief in-house?
Yeah, I think the Daniel Jones thing really burns them because they had him in-house and they thought that he was going to come back. But Daniel Jones went to Duke. He's smart. He knew which team he could win the job. He knew that McCarthy was the golden boy and that Anthony Richardson had fallen out of favor. So he smartly chose them for, as from what I understand, even less money. But when it comes to Sam Darnold, I would just call it an organizational decision. Now, look, they were supposed to have the quarterback whisperer. And I think that if Kevin O'Connell had put his foot down and said, we are not letting Sam Darnold walk out this door, that they would have franchise tagged him. But you really need the context of the entire regime to understand why they went to J.J. McCarthy. They set up their entire salary cap, their entire free agent spending for years around the idea of the rookie quarterback contract. So when Sam Darnold comes in and wins 14 games, then it's like, okay, the only way to really keep him is either trade McCarthy, which they didn't want to do, or franchise tag him for $41 million. Now, in hindsight, man, franchise tag him. They probably would have won 12 games if they had franchise tagged him. And we know that now. But I also think that as the NFL often does, I mean, look, I mentioned Buffalo, right? They fired their head coach because they lost an overtime game on the road in the playoffs. I think the Vikings, like the rest of the United States of America, overreacted to those 2 games for Sam Darnold. Him playing so poorly in Week 18 in the playoffs, they said, we can't win with this guy. Let's go and roll the dice with the rookie quarterback contract. And I also think there was hubris involved. We can coach him up. Our supporting cast is so good. We're different. We don't. The rules of young quarterbacks don't apply to us. I think there was some of that. And I also think that J.J. McCarthy showed them a ton in 2024 training camp, but what they didn't realize is they were starting back from square one. Like, all that progress was totally erased by the injury. And then I think probably got into the first couple weeks of training camp and went, uh-oh. And, and them not having any other option at quarterback outside of Carson Wentz, they just had to roll the dice, and it came up snake eyes.
The rest of the division, we saw what the Bears did. I kind of am leaning towards the Bears being Washington of next year, where they get a lot of magic and a lot of great come from behind and a lot of excitement. But the way it was sustainable was the magic and the come from behind and the turnovers. And that usually doesn't travel real well year to year to year, probably taking a step back. What do you believe in the Chicago Bears?
So I think that your audience and my audience would love that to be the case. And from an analytical perspective, I totally agree with you that usually when you win at the end of games, we saw this with the 2022 Vikings. But here's the thing that can negate that. Number one, Caleb Williams wasn't even that great as a drop back passer, hit the back foot, be accurate. But he's only, 23? And if he takes another step with that, kind of like a Josh Allen did, and if there's anybody you can comp to Josh Allen in terms of a freak athlete, it's probably Caleb Williams. And then the other thing is, there they are with the rookie quarterback contract advantage. Chicago can spend, and after everybody in the league has seen them succeed with this, exciting quarterback, I could see a lot of defensive players wanting to go to Chicago. And I also think that Ben Johnson, having seen him tear apart Brian Flores' defenses on a number of occasions, I think he's the real deal. So, I do think that you're right in terms of, they can't do the same thing and hope it's going to work again. As you saw, that magic eventually runs out. But I also think that what can restrict the regression is just the fact that Caleb could take another big step and that they can fill up their roster. So on my show, I've been saying that, everybody should be concerned here, because this could be 2-3 more years of Caleb's rookie quarterback contract, of him playing probably better than he did this year, now that he's got a whole year in Ben Johnson's system.
The Packers have issues. We all know that. So does Detroit. Out of those two teams, who's closer to being really, really good?
I think Detroit is closer to being really, really good because they made a colossal error. And, somebody who works for the Lions told me last year early in the season that they were very worried about the switch from Ben Johnson to John Morton. And that obviously came to fruition, but also the offensive line. That offense, they didn't bring back Kevin Zeitler, and they lost Frank Ragnow to retirement, and they were hoping that some young guys could just step in, and clearly that was not the same as what they had before. But even then, when you look at their offensive numbers, you're like, okay, they were still pretty darn good. And I actually think, I know Drew Petzing, I covered him here for years. I see Lions fans melting down because they just hear the word Arizona Cardinals and nothing else. But I thought that he squeezed a lot out of the Arizona Cardinals offense, and that just organization is kind of a tire fire. But I think that they'll get a lot of that fixed, and they'll still have an elite offense. They got to figure out why their guys get injured all the time on defense. I think they got to figure out a little more schematically on defense, and that could be tough because their salary cap situation is getting a little tighter. And, with Green Bay, it feels like, hey, welcome to the 7th seed next year again, right? It does kind of feel like that. But I will say, though, there's one candidate that the Packers are interviewing for a defensive coordinator position that made me think, if they hire this guy, the Vikings should be unhappy with that, and that is Durante Jones, who has been vital in Brian Flores' defense. He was one of the reasons Harrison Smith came back to play this year because he loves working with Durante Jones. He's been in multiple different systems. He understands, I think, pretty much everything that Brian Flores was able to implement here. So if the Packers hire him, get, Micah Parsons back, when you think about it, it's crazy. And I'm sure you've spent a lot of time with this, but 9-3-1 with the lead against Denver when Micah Parsons gets hurt, and then everything falls apart from there. Well, he comes back, and there's still a lot to work with. And, it's a team that's going to take a lot of swings at it over the years, I think, because it's always going to be competent, and the quarterback's good enough to get you to the doorstep. So I would not write off the Packers completely.
Matthew, great stuff as always, and we certainly appreciate it. And we'll keep listening, and we'll bring you back real soon, okay?
Anytime, Bill. Thanks, man.
There you go. Matthew Coller from Purple Insider. Couple of minutes on the program. Always good to pick his brain. Good stuff from top to bottom. Now, obviously, a little bit dated on the conversation from earlier today because since then, obviously Brian Flores has signed a contract temporarily, making him the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, unless, of course, he does get a head coaching job somewhere else. So we'll see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free to do so. Coming up after the top of the hour, Mark Schofield, SB Nation. Got that upcoming. Don't go anywhere. The Huddle continues on this Wednesday night. Only a couple of them left. We're down to about, a huddle and a half at this point yet to go in the season. I can't believe the season's almost over. Stay tuned. We got more right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
How are we looking on a Wednesday night? It's about an hour down of our second to last huddle of the season. Some news for you. I'm already getting people that are saying, hey, you want to take a chance on him? Brandon Aiyuk of the San Francisco 49ers, they are cutting him loose. John Lynch, no mixed words today. He said, I think it's safe to say that he's played his last snap with the Niners. It's unfortunate. It's a situation that went awry. I'm going to look long and hard at what maybe could have been done differently, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I think that this was the case here, and that's what happened.
So he said that a release, or more unlikely a trade, which nobody's going to trade for him, would happen in due time. But they extended him during the summer of 24. And the 49ers and Aiyuk, they came to an agreement 4 years, $120 million, $76 million in guarantees on August 29th of 2024. And they hoped that that would make him happy. But then he got into it with Kyle Shanahan. He just wouldn't follow team rules. It was little things, but in a disciplined sport, there were some things that they didn't like. He didn't then go to that summer's training camp, struggled on the field, averaged 58.5 yards receiving yards. Then he tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus in his right knee, ended his season. They were hoping to kind of trade him during the offseason, but obviously now you can't do that because of the injury. That ended realistic hopes of that. And then from Aiyuk's $24.935 million roster bonus for the 2026 season, it becomes guaranteed on April 1st. Or April 1st, 2025. But the problems came up again. He skipped rehab sessions. Then they said, you know what? You're not doing everything you can to get back healthy. They voided $27 million worth of that guaranteed money that was remaining for the contract for 2026. And then on all of this, Aiyuk just stopped showing up, stopped coming to the facility, wouldn't talk to anybody, cut off communication, just went away. So for those that say, wow, Brandon Aiyuk's on the market, I think his days of playing, somebody may take a chance on him in some kind of a crazy minimal contract, but Brandon Aiyuk's got more problems than, I don't even know if you want to bring that into your locker room. So I don't think that's going to happen. Now, going back to the Mike McCarthy thing, if they say want to run it back for one more year with all these veterans, bring back Aaron Rodgers, you've obviously got God, who's the guy they just brought in over there? I just mentioned him a few minutes ago.
Metcalf?
DK Metcalf. They got DK Metcalf, who has at times been problematic. Would they take a chance on a guy like Aiyuk to put him on the opposite side to play with a guy like Rodgers, and they all kind of go out together? That's kind of a mess that you would then have to blow up at the end of that season. But man, Brandon Aiyuk sounds like he was just a troubled person, we'll say. So he's pretty much been like this, though, throughout his entire career. Stay tuned. Mark Schofield, SB Nation coming up. We got a lot more. Another hour of the Huddle. We have to go. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, it's game day for the Bucks. They're going to welcome in the reigning NBA champs as Oklahoma City comes to town. Milwaukee snapped a 3-game losing streak on Monday, while the Thunder come to town, having won 7 of 10 and owning the best record in the NBA. Tonight, slated for 8:30, turning to Wisconsin. They're going to make their way to Happy Valley today. It's where they're going to take on Penn State tomorrow night. Badgers have won 4 straight, sitting just outside the AP top 25. In the 4-game winning streak, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell have taken their games to the next level, as Boyd was the co-Big Ten Player of the Week one week. Blackwell got the same honor earlier this week. Coach Greg Gard knew the high-scoring duo would need some time to learn each other.
I think they both have done a good job of understanding how important the other is and both keeping their aggressiveness and functioning together. So, 45 days ago, I would have said that we're not in sync with each other. Now I think I've seen a lot of really good play on the floor from both of them.
Again, it'll be Wisconsin and Penn State tomorrow night. Nittany Lions, one of 2 Big Ten teams that is winless in conference.
Every child deserves a fair shot at a bright future. That's why Save the Children Head Start administers Head Start programs in rural America. We leveled the playing field early, helping children start school strong, stay strong, and unlock their full potential. Because education is the best path out of poverty. Learn more at savethechildren.org/Head Start.
Well, the Packers' search for a new defensive coordinator continues to gather steam. Among the reported candidates includes former Atlanta coach Raheem Morris, former Arizona coach Jonathan Gannon, and Minnesota passing game coordinator Durante Jones. They would be replacing Jeff Hafley, who was hired as Miami's new head coach earlier this week. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Are you ready for some football? He talks green and gold. Look at the 8! This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels.
Welcome in. Hour number 2, Wednesday night. Huddle and a half left in the season. What are we going to do with our Wednesday nights, man? What are we going to do with Wednesday nights?
Got a lot we want to discuss. Got Mark Schofield from SB Nation coming up here momentarily. Here's the thought. We were talking about Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers obviously, talked about going back to Pittsburgh and the guys in Pittsburgh wanting back. What do you think, Grant, if the Minnesota Vikings would revisit the Aaron Rodgers to come and be the tutor for J.J. McCarthy?
I'm trying to think of which side would want that more, because last offseason it was presented like Rodgers wanted that.
Right.
And the Vikings maybe not as much. Maybe they kicked it around, but they never got there.
Right.
I'm trying to wonder this offseason for which side that would make the most sense.
Mull that over. Right? Crazy. Somebody just brought that up in the live stream, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. That may not be that far out of the realm of possibility if Rodgers comes in and says, hey, I'm going to come in, I want to play. And if they don't have a lot of belief in J.J. McCarthy, maybe they just say, J.J., it's a competition, man. You move better than Rodgers, but Rodgers, we got guys in this team that want to win and want to win now. And if they feel like they've made some kind of a mistake, I should have asked Matthew Coller that. But think about that for a minute. Mull that over. Good gosh. And you're right. Think of the career that McCarthy had. If McCarthy does get the Pittsburgh job, by the time he goes away, by the time he retires, or whatever happens, transpires in Pittsburgh, he will have coached for 3 of the most storied franchises in the NFL. Short of, say, New York and Chicago, the Giants and the Bears, he would have coached for 3 of the most storied franchises in the NFL. The Packers, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. And 3 franchises with truly supportive and massive fan bases. Massive fan bases. Crazy. Just crazy. Man, oh man, oh man. That's something to mull over. Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us on the hotline, and just all kinds of drama coming up. We got games to get to. We got the coaching carousel going on right now. Mark, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Bill. Excited to be back here. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's start with because last week we really talked more football than we did talk about off the field stuff with all the coaching changes. But 10 teams in the last 2 years, 18 teams will have changed their head coach. Have we changed the era in the NFL where it's a results-oriented business faster than it is longevity-wise, and owners just aren't willing to wait as long anymore?
I think so, especially when, like you put, we've got more than half of the league now that has changed, head coaching gigs over the past, like you said, 2 years. That is a massive amount of turnover in a short period of time. And I think it speaks to not just in sports, but like the greater overall movement. Look, our attention spans are shorter. We expect results faster, whether it's on a football field, whether it's in other aspects of life. I mean, people aren't really patient these days because life moves pretty fast. And so you're seeing that play out now in the National Football League, where you've got not just long tenured coaches like McDermott, Harbaugh, Tomlin, but coaches like Mike McDaniel, coaches like Kevin Stefanski, coaches that haven't been there as long. They're just not getting that long leash like we're used to seeing in years past, in times past where, longevity was a positive, where patience was a virtue in the National Football League, where you would give coaches time to implement their vision. Now it's, look, where have he gone? That's the era of the National Football League that we are in right now. And even some of these hires, 5-year contracts, you've already got people saying that they doubt most of these coaches will see those 5 years. We don't know if they'll see even 3 years, because you come in, it doesn't work, they're going to find somebody else who can win. People don't have the time to wait. This league moves extremely quickly. Life moves very fast here in 2026. And so we are, I think, entering this new era of the National Football League where if you don't show immediate results, now, this isn't to say that if you're John Harbaugh, you have to go win a Super Bowl in New York right now. You probably have to get that team to the playoffs in a year or two.
Yeah.
If you're Kevin Stefanski down in Atlanta, you don't have to win a Super Bowl next year, but you better get that team to the playoffs pretty quickly. Same goes for Jeff Hafley, down in Miami. You got to get this team to the playoffs, and that will be the same theme for the rest of these hires. Get these teams to the postseason where you've got a shot, and even that might not be enough, as we saw with Sean McDermott. So, yes, this is a new era, a bold new world for the NFL. Win quickly, or we'll find somebody else who will.
Yeah, back in, I think, 2022, they had 10 vacancies. And since the hirings in 2022, only 2 of those coaches remain with those teams from 2022, if I'm not mistaken, when they had 10 vacancies open that year. So, yeah, the number is crazy. I want to start here in our own backyard. Were you surprised or not surprised that Matt LaFleur kept his job?
I wasn't really surprised, and it speaks to some of what we've talked about these past couple of weeks. It speaks to a lot of what I've talked about with people, whether currently with teams, formerly with teams, both on the NFL side and the upper-level college side. The offensive-minded head coach with play calling experience, that's the archetype that teams are looking for the most part. Now, look, Harbaugh, he's got a Super Bowl background. Hafley's obviously got the defensive side, but it's why Mike McDaniel was still in the mix for jobs. It's why Kevin Stefanski was one of the first hired. That's the prototype right now, particularly with all these teams that have questions at quarterback. I would be very surprised if, for example, with the Raiders, they go in a direction other than offensive-minded head coach with play calling experience. So when you have that person already in your head coaching role, you look around at the landscape and it's like, well, sometimes, yes, the grass might seem greener, but is Mike McDaniel really an upgrade over what you have with Coach LaFleur? Is Stefanski really an upgrade over what you have? So I think that played into the decision to keep Coach LaFleur in Green Bay and to get that done. So I wasn't really surprised given the overall coaching landscape, the prototype that teams are looking for, everything that people have told me, and this is not just Packers specific, but team wide across the league. Like that's what the majority of teams are looking for right now in a new head coach. And so when you have a coach with that background, better to keep him and forge ahead than it is to roll the dice on the unknown.
I start to look around the rest of the league, and not only are these coaches going to be changing jobs, but so are the coordinators. And if you're the Green Bay Packers, you're now looking for a defensive coordinator. There's a lot of names that are out there, some names we haven't even heard of, so to speak. But that being said, how fast do you feel a guy like Matt LaFleur has to make a move, because all these other jobs are going to be filled and they're going to be looking for coordinators as well?
I mean, I certainly think while you want to find the right person, that right person is going to be sought after by certainly other teams. And so I do think that speed is of not the utmost importance, but it's very important in this situation because of all the turnover we're seeing, because of all the jobs that are opening up, because of the vacancies that are out there. There's going to be competition for the more sought after names in this hiring cycle. Now, what could help is the fact that what we just talked about, with the emphasis on offensive coaches, offensive-minded coaches, that might make hiring for a defensive coordinator a little bit easier. But that being said, you still don't want to wait. You don't want to be, the last person waiting for a chair when the music runs out. So I do think that they want to move quickly on this, get somebody in the building, get somebody up to speed, because life doesn't stop in the National Football League. Yes, we're getting ready for Conference Championship weekend. You're headed out to Santa Clara pretty soon for the Super Bowl, but we've got Senior Bowl coming up. We've got Shrine Game coming up. You've got the evaluation process started. We're already talking about the draft. If you're getting, a defensive coordinator in late in the game, that's going to put you behind the 8 ball when it comes to evaluating talent for that side of the ball for free agency for the draft. And so you've got to make decisions quickly here, so you can hit the ground running as we start thinking about free agency, as we start thinking about the draft, and as you start thinking about how you're going to improve this defense for next year, which is something that every team is going to want to do, including Green Bay. And so, from finding the right person, getting that person into your organization, not missing out on them finding a different job, and then started the offseason roster evaluation process on the defensive side of the ball, you do have to move quickly here.
The best job that's out there, and people want to argue that as to which job you can ascend the fastest when it comes to a new head coach. I mean, you just mentioned Atlanta. Obviously, Michael Penix Jr. is a little bit of a project, but they've got a lot of talent down there. But would you think that the team, whoever takes over either Buffalo or Baltimore, is probably the closest to automatically not only getting to the postseason, but possibly winning a Super Bowl?
Certainly, and it starts with the quarterback. And, that's the reason those jobs are going to be very sought after. Because, yes, you mentioned Atlanta. There are things about the Atlanta job that are attractive. You're talking about Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London on the offensive side of the ball. That's a lot of talent to work with. But the quarterback piece is a big question mark. You look at jobs like Tennessee with Robert Saleh, a job like, New York with the Giants. There's potential in Cam Ward and Jackson Dart, respectively, but they're still unproven commodities. You're talking about a two-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. You're talking about a one-time MVP, defended MVP in Josh Allen. That's very enticing for a potential head coach. And think about where we talked about, what we said about Josh Allen last week, right? Where it seemed like he was willing that team with everything he had to get to a Super Bowl this year. Now, it may have backfired a bit, that fumble before halftime, for example. But when you have a quarterback of that caliber, it makes things easier. It gives you a, much larger, say, error band, right? Like, I always think about Tom Brady and the run that he had in New England. And New England, from a roster construction standpoint, the wide receiver room, all the things we're hearing about the Bills right now, right? They didn't, fill out the wide receiver room right. They didn't hit on defensive, free agent sign-ins, one-year deals and things like that. A good quarterback can help mask those deficiencies. A great one, like a Tom Brady did for all those years in New England, can overcome them. You can still win a Super Bowl even with mistakes around the quarterback. And that's the kind of window you would get with a Josh Allen, with a Lamar Jackson. Yes, neither team has won a Super Bowl yet, but these are MVP quarterbacks, playoff caliber teams. Bills just made it to the divisional round. And so, yes, obviously any NFL head coaching gig is a good job to have if you can get it. But if you can get the Ravens job, if you can get the Bills job, pretty soon you're probably going to be in a very good spot.
The rest of the jobs that are out there, I mean, we know Jeff Hafley obviously taking over Miami. Erickson is heading down there as the general manager, or Eric Sullivan, I should say, not Erickson, Eric Sullivan. So with a project like that, and then Tua being in flux, and what kind of a turnaround do you expect for something like that? Because some of these programs are they're inept. They've been bad for a long time. I mean, I know Harbaugh, like you said, he just has to get them back to the postseason and be able to make Jackson Dart relevant. At least they think they have the quarterback of the future. But you've got a guy like Tua, who has pretty much been a failure and an injury-prone quarterback. You're almost starting over, aren't you?
I mean, it's not just the Tua component. While Tua is a massive part of it, and like we just talked about, quarterback is a huge component to any sort of evaluation of where a team is right now. You're talking about a team that has the fourth least effective cap space in the National Football League, $37 million over the cap, and with respect to effective cap space headed into next year. Only the Cowboys, Vikings, and Chiefs have less. You are in a dire financial position right now, and Tua's contract is a big part of it. It's a tear down and rebuild. It's not let's go get a wide receiver in the draft, defensive tackle with free agency, maybe draft a corner day two, and boom, we're right back in the mix of things. You're talking about starting over a quarterback. You're starting over, obviously with a new offensive philosophy, with a shift away from McDaniel. You're talking about starting over on both offensive and defensive lines. Secondary needs help as well. That's a tear down and rebuild. And so if you're Stephen Ross, you're looking at that and saying, maybe this is one of those few instances where there might have to be a little bit more patience just because of the starting point. You're not at the starting line when this season begins. You're still in the stands getting your spikes on. You're far behind in the starting line when this year begins because of the Tua situation, because of the financial implications of where they are with respect to the cap, because of decisions made by Chris Greer. And so that's a tough situation. There's going to be some patience needed there because of everything they have to fix down in Miami. But other teams, because of where they are, like Atlanta, for example, and perhaps Baltimore, Buffalo, there's going to be an incentive to win sooner rather than later.
So I want to get into the games this coming weekend, because I know I'm a little bit short on time. You've got an AFC and an NFC championship game, but no Bo Nix. Stidham is going to be the guy, and Stidham is a guy that obviously they're familiar with in New England. I get all of that, but it's defense that wins a lot of games for the Denver Broncos. But there is a come-from-behind it factor that Bo Nix has been able to display in games this season. Losing a quarterback at any time is big, but how detrimental is Bo Nix and his loss when you have that kind of a defense backing you up?
I mean, it's obviously a loss. You lose your starting quarterback on the second to last play of the divisional round game, and you're looking at an AFC championship game without him. That's a tough loss, because there is that confidence that, hey, he's let us back before. He could do it again if needed. Well, now that player is going to be watching from a suite upstairs. That's tough to overcome. But this is a defense, number one, and this is a Patriots offense, number two, that could make it still not just feasible, but perhaps even likely that Denver wins this game, because you look at New England's first two playoff games, they've put the ball on the turf a lot. Now, maybe some of that was weather, in that game against Houston, but not all of it. That's a very good Houston defense, and this is a Denver defense that is very good, that is opportunistic, that can create turnovers, that can get after the quarterback, and May has shown an affinity at times to put the ball on the turf when he's trying to move around in the pocket, when he's late to feel pressure off the backside, when Will Campbell, their rookie left tackle, gives up a pressure early in the down, early in the play, and then suddenly there's a blindside strip sack. Denver will have opportunities to give Jared Stidham some short fields. And in a game like this, that might be all it takes, right? You get, you get a lead early, maybe 7-0, you score in your first drive, then suddenly you strip sack Drake May and put it in the end zone. Then you're up 14-0, and that place is going to be as loud as it can get in Denver. And so that defense is going to give them a chance. It's going to give them, I'd say, more than a puncher's chance to win this game. New England's favored for a reason, but I think that Denver defense gives them a very good shot to win this game.
I really love the upcoming game between the Rams and the Seahawks, and these two teams is going to be the third time these two teams have met. Stafford is the elder statesman by far in these in this postseason and in these championship games. Do you give him the edge, or do you think because that defense and the complete team that they have in Seattle has the edge? Plus, not to mention they've got that 12th man.
Yeah, I give Seattle the edge overall, and I think when push comes to shove, Dennis Allen might have given Mike McDonald a bit of a new game planning, a bit of a new way of sort of attacking Stafford. You see the blitzes and the things that Dennis Allen dialed up in that divisional round game while the Rams ultimately won. I think it took a little bit longer for McVay to adjust to some of what Dennis Allen was doing. That was a fascinating chess match to watch Sunday night. And I think that might have given McDonald a roadmap on how to attack Stafford early in that game, blitz him early, frustrate him early, and then settle back into more softer coverages to try to speed up his clock early in the game. I think that's going to be fascinating to sort of watch play out. But while the overall edge leans Seattle, if it comes down to which quarterback do you trust more, you trust Stafford. And I know we've been playing the whole, Sam Darnold's game all season long, it seems like, and even dating back to our chats last year when he was on the Vikings. You worry about that if you're, a Seattle fan. You've lost a running back now. Can Sam Darnold win you this game? Maybe. But I still think if it turns into a back-and-forth affair where, both offenses are having a little bit of success, you would give the edge to Matthew Stafford in that situation just because he's been here before. He's done it before. He's the elder statesman of this, Final Four situation. And by all accounts, Pro Football Writers Association just announced their MVP. Stafford was their pick. Seems like he's going to be the league MVP, and it's for a reason.
This is, and this is the last question, Mark, but this is a year where we don't have that we don't have, again, Patrick Mahomes. We don't have, a Lamar Jackson. We do have a return if they need the Rams win. But if we end up with Seattle and, say, New England, this is a complete revamp of New England since Bill Belichick and Tom Brady left. They just rebuilt this thing. And then you got Seattle, which again, we've seen these two teams battle each other in a Super Bowl before, but it was completely different when we remember Marshawn Lynch not getting the ball and then the interception in the goal line and all that kind of stuff. So this would be kind of a new blood type of situation. But then again, it would be exciting because you'd see two teams, or even if the Broncos made it and the Rams made it, we're talking about teams that have been there before, but it's an exciting time because you're seeing new faces and not same old, if indeed Matthew Stafford doesn't make it.
Yeah, and I think there's a parallel to be drawn to what we saw on Monday night, right? Like Indiana wins a national championship.
Yes.
And the first time in 26, 29 years, we had a first-time national champion because it's been Alabama, Ohio State, sort of the blue blood programs. And this is, again, maybe Stafford gets back and, okay, he's a repeat winner, but, it's certainly the Patriots have been there before, but it's an entirely new organization. Yes, the Seahawks have won a Super Bowl, but, again, it's a completely reworked roster. Denver winning. Yes, they've won a Super Bowl before, but, again, new roster. It would be one heck of a story if you lose Bo Nix on the penultimate play of the divisional round, and Jarrett Stidham not only beats the team that drafted him in the AFC Championship game, but wins the Super Bowl after having not thrown a pass in a regular season game since 23. I mean, it would be fascinating for this league. Any of these storylines will be amazing. Any of these matchups will be amazing. It's been a fantastic topsy-turvy type of season, but it's been a joy to watch and a joy to cover, and I don't think we can go wrong with any of these potential matchups when it comes to the Super Bowl.
Mark, great stuff as always. Look forward to talking to you again next week, and appreciate your time, man.
Always, my friend. Look forward to it next week.
There you go. Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us on the hotline. Always great to kind of chat with him, reminisce each and every week. He's been a big part of the show twice on Wednesdays, as a matter of fact. So really, really good stuff. As always, we got some more to catch up on, got some more to discuss. We get into the NFC and the AFC championship games coming up. We are right around the corner. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up right after this.
Oh, yeah. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in. How we looking? Bill Michaels Show. Wednesday night. The Huddle continues to spin. Certainly appreciate you. We've got all kinds of stuff regarding the NFL, but nothing breaking in the ranks of the Green Bay Packers. A really weird, awkward display today in Buffalo, in case you missed it. Their owner and general manager, obviously you sit down and you start, kind of talking about the season, about the firing, and Sean McDermott is out. And, and they talked about a few things. They talked about, obviously not having the success in the playoffs and getting to the next level, basically being a Super Bowl that they had wanted for quite some time. And, there's a couple of AFC championship losses, some divisional round losses, some wild card losses, but just, Sean McDermott's guys just couldn't get over the hump, and he's the defensive guy. And in the losses, they averaged more than 30 points a game given up. So it was kind of like, well, okay, maybe he's taking us as far as we can. But Grant, do you have that sound from earlier today of the owner and their general manager? This was a bizarre stoppage of a press conference by their owner, who kind of took things over. And Terry Pegula, kind of went into we were going to make the decision to fire Sean McDermott in the locker room after the game. And it was, and then he got into this description of, the general manager taking heat for picking a rookie. And take a listen to this weird exchange.
Yeah, can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it. But I'm here to tell you the true story.
That their general manager's talking, he stops and then kind of goes on that Keon's, they wanted him. It wasn't his fault. And by the way, this guy's still on the team. It was a bizarre scenario, for lack of a better term, that took place in that press conference today. Now, again, you've got owners who got more money than God. They don't necessarily come off the mountaintop too often to mix and mingle with you and I. But it was a bizarre rambling by an owner. Crazy stuff. So that was another happening in the world of the NFL today. And were you going to say something, Grant, or did I just talk over you?
No, you didn't talk over me.
I
didn't make a noise. Sometimes I forget if my mic's on. So.
Okay. No. I heard an echo in my ear, and I thought it might have been you, and then I wasn't quite sure, and I thought, oh God, I just cut him off. So anyway, when we come back, there's another guy in Green Bay who went on the Kay Adams show, who wants to be with the Packers, saying all the right things, wants to remain with the Packers, but you kind of think that he might not be. But he spoke to Kay Adams now that the Packers season is over, and we'll hear from him. And then we'll obviously get into the AFC and the NFC championship games as well. We're not done yet. We still got another couple of segments yet to go on our second to last huddle of the season. Stay tuned. We got more after this.
Let we go. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Phil Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
show on a Wednesday night. The Huddle. It has been a weird day
in a lot of different senses. We're going to get to the Kay Adams stuff with Romeo Doubs coming up here momentarily, but I got to take a minute for this. I really do. I have gotten more emails and text messages, and I don't want to go too deep into this today from our discussion to start the show, Grant. What do you think the number one topic today being texted to me or emailed to me is?
From the show earlier
The weird
today?
stuff we talked about in the first segment of the show.
Exploding trees?
Yes.
And okay.
Exploding trees.
That feels like a very long time ago. I had to rack my brain to try to figure out what we talked about.
Somebody else just texted me and said, I hear it in the Northwoods. And I'm like, is this like, are they blowing up or what? He's like, no, they just make a loud boom, but you can hear exploding trees. And so I no more than texted him. I scroll through Instagram. There's a story from numerous news outlets that talks about exploding trees. So apparently this phenomenon is true. They don't blow up like they would hit with a bomb. They basically just go bang and they split apart, but they don't fall over and just croak off or the bark just flies off. But it's not like when they get hit by lightning. This is just the tree just all of a sudden splits open because the sap and the moisture and everything inside the tree freezes so fast, it contracts so fast, it spreads, but it sounds like an M80. It sounds like a gun going off, But I've lived here now going on 27 years.
Well, you're a southerner. You live but still, I mean, it gets.
I've never heard about this. We've had some cold temperatures here. We haven't been this cold where we're about to get this weekend, I think, since like 2019, 2018, something like that. It's been a long time since we've been this cold. We've had some pretty nice winters over the last 5 or 6 years. And now all of a sudden, exploding trees are a thing. This is like Shark Week. One day you'll hear 5 people attacked in the waters via sharks, and suddenly there's shark sightings, and everybody's doing shark stories and everything, and then it just goes away. Sharks are gone. Then there's like a snake population somewhere that, hey, you got to go eradicate the snake, and it's gone. And then the bird flu is going to happen, and then it's gone. All of that. Now we've got exploding trees.
I suppose it's similar. Like if you ever, so I grew up on a lake.
Okay.
But if you go out when it's cold, like single digits or colder. Yep. I mean, if you go out, if there's a bunch of snow on the ice, you might not hear it, but you'll hear the ice. You'll hear it freezing. You'll hear it expand.
Pop. Yeah.
Yeah. When you'll hear it kind of rattle throughout the lake. I didn't know the trees did that.
Didn't know.
And everyone's now telling me like, oh yeah, you hear it all the time in the woods. I'm like, I don't live as much as anybody.
But
I'm out in the woods as much as anybody. I never hear this.
But here's my question. Why is it only in the Northwoods? Why haven't I heard it outside? I got trees. I
wonder if the tree has to have a certain amount of sap.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Maybe it's more pines than it is maples or something. I don't know. But this is like the third text this hour and a half that we've been on the air that I got from somebody saying, have you heard your trees exploding? And I'm like, what in the actual F are you talking about? And then I no more than sent it back to him. And during the break, I scroll social media. Boom. There's now these reports from news outlets here in Wisconsin that are talking about the phenomenon that is exploding trees and exploding soil. And I'm like, exploding soil now too?
Oh yeah.
And apparently, it'll pop, but that's the moisture in the bottom of the soil freezing at a deeper temperature or a deeper level than say 2 or 3 feet down. So anyway, just thought I'd throw it out there. Apparently, it's not fake. It's not a Facebook fake out or anything. Apparently, they'll split, they'll lose a little bit of bark, but it's not like they're blowing up and you got to hide your women and children because you got to go to the basement because here comes that tornadic exploding tree. You're not quite sure if it's your tree or grandpa had to run to the outhouse because he had a bad burrito. One of those two.
Yeah, or one of those raccoons taking an explosive dump on your roof. You got it coming from all directions.
Yeah.
I picked a bad weekend. I'm going up to a cabin up north this weekend too. I'm not going out in the woods. I'm going to take a splinter to the eye.
Right. Marcus on the live stream. Marcus, did you see that today? Mark said, how about us on the gas pumps at Quick Trip? Yeah, they went on today. I saw that.
Good day to be at the gas pumps. Yeah. Everyone's going to be filling up with the cold weather coming.
Everybody's filling up. Everybody's getting the extra gas in the car just in case, you don't want things to freeze up. So yeah, we're on the gas pumps. There you go. So anyway. All right. Kay Adams had Romeo Doubs on the program. So you want to do this, Grant, because you kind of followed the story, but he basically said how much he wants to remain a Green Bay Packer.
So I have 4 cuts. Let's start with that one. Whether or not you want to remain a Packer, it's about a minute and 30 seconds, and you'll just it'll be easy to follow along.
I would leave that unknown. I would love to be a Green Bay Packer, but I'm just aware of this business. I understand how things go. And I just keep it short. Keep it real.
Can I ask you this? When you're on Amazon buying things, like you look at like value, priority, what's important? I'm going to go over a little. I'm so sorry. What's important to you as a free agent? Is it being a true labeled wide receiver one? Is it, what's important to you as you will hit the market and then you'll get wined and dined by teams wanting to bring you home?
I got to be honest. I get it. Free agency and money and all this other stuff. But when it really comes down to it, I just want to play football. And again, the situation is everything. I know there's a lot of energy that goes into that. But like I said, when it comes down to it, I still got to be a ball player. I still got to go out there, make plays, be a team guy, be reliable, and just to continue to be a leader that I'm growing into.
Sounds like you want to be a Packer, but I will tell you, go take the nice dinners, because I think you're going to have teams like the Chiefs, and I think the Ravens. I'm looking Giants. I made a list. Saints, Titans. You can go team up with Halfley. There will be lots of calls for you, Romeo Doubs, and I hope you enjoy that. Ultimately, I hope you do whatever makes you happy.
There you go. So that's him basically saying that I just want to play, but I want to be a Packer. So what's the next one?
He didn't really give an answer on I want to be I want targets, I want money, and it's hard to answer that honestly without sounding like a prick. I want to be the number one guy, or I want the most money. I get that's part of it. The next one would be Kay Adams telling Romeo Doubs, people wanted your coach fired. What do you say about that?
People wanted your coach fired after the season.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I disagree with that. And the biggest reason for that is because Matt has he's one of the best coaches in the league, bro. And like I said, just based off the situation alone and what he had to deal with, I do not fault them keeping him there. He's one of the top coaches in the league.
He's back.
So that's the discussion about Matt LaFleur. Romeo Doubs, for those that are kind of saying, well, that doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement. That's the way he talks. He's not over high. He's not under emotional. He's just monotone. He's got a little bit of feeling, a little bit of heart, but it's just there. If you've heard him speak before, what else does he say in this thing?
They talk about the rivalry with the Bears. This exchange is about 2 minutes, so you'll kind of hear him go back and forth and talk about this rivalry, what it's become.
Yeah. So and
I think the first question was when at this point this year did this really start to feel like a rivalry? When did this start to feel legit again?
Yeah. So when I first came in, again, I didn't really. Again, I'm a young player. I don't really know much. I just know to obviously go out there, play football, just be a dude. And like I said, so when they took Jordan out the game, that was number one. Because everybody in the world know it was a dirty hit. I mean, again, shout out to Chicago. Again, great football team, but that was number one, obviously. Everybody in the world saw it. I saw it, you saw it. And again, it was just, I think just the energy on both ends, them chanting Green Bay sucks before playing the Rams, and it's just I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. But the rivalry is very deep there. From the fan base to the players. And it's just so much more to it. I don't really know how to break it down, but again, I don't know.
It sounds like this is going to stick with you. It's sticking. I mean, you're there. You're like, I'm a young player. I'm just a guy. But now it sounds like you have what is your stake in the rivalry personally?
No, it's real. I mean, it's definitely real. definitely real. And it's just, again, just the whole, shebang from, again, like I said, players talking and
that hit.
Obviously,
it up.
It's just, it's just like,
What are the what are the chances you and me can get your coach and Coach Johnson together, talk it out?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I would leave that unknown. That is not my business, because that was clearly in the air as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I would stay out of that.
Okay. I agree. I would stay out of that too. You don't want them to kiss and make up. You want the rivalry to be the rivalry. Yeah.
What's he going to say?
Right? Yeah. I'd say the same thing. I'd say the same thing if I was him. I'd say, look, let the rivalry be the rivalry. You want to hate them as much as they hate us. That's what rivalries and such, especially in the same division, are all about. So hell yeah. It's a weird question.
Well, and he's an odd interview because you can hear he'll get 80% to saying what he wants to say, and then you almost need to help kick him across the finish line a little bit. That's why I found this because he's got a smile, and again, we talked about it earlier. I think as he approaches free agency, he's got the numbers. He's a productive wide receiver. His agent is probably saying with him, it's like, look, we need to be a little marketable. We need people to know you a little bit, right? Like I would bet that's part of the calculus. The last question and answer is, why have you performed so well against the Cowboys, the playoff game? And then he had 3 touchdowns in that 40-40 tie earlier this year. So he talks a little bit about that rivalry in those matchups.
Week 4 Cowboys. I loved this game for you. And this is not the first time you've tortured that team. What's with Dallas?
I have no idea, man. I mean, things were just clicking going into that game. I was feeling real confident in that game. And as you can see, just based off the touchdown dances alone, I was having fun on the football field. And, it was a great feeling. But, I mean, went out there with a tie. It was a weird feeling after the game, too, because I've never been in a tie throughout my years in the NFL or whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is about Dallas, but, I mean, how about them Cowboys? I guess like what they always say. But, yeah.
You've got some former Cowboys on your team. How do they handle that?
Oh, yeah, Kenny. I didn't speak to Kenny at all that game. He looked at me in my eye and he walked right past me. But I love Kenny. It's no
Kenny didn't even say hi?
Oh, God, that brought Dolphins up the road.
I mean, he was locked in. That's just what he do. But, yeah, shout out Kenny, man. Shout out Kenny. I love him.
There you go.
This dropped me. I cut this individually the first time I heard it.
How about them Cowboys? I guess like what they always say.
Like he's just so he's just so weird.
Whatever.
They always say.
Yeah. Let's do this. We'll come back. We'll make our picks. The NFC and AFC championship games. That is up next to round out the second to last Bill Michaels huddle this season. We got more right after this.
How about them Cowboys? I guess like what they always say.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
How we looking? Bill Michaels Show. Real quick, over on the live stream, there is a whole group
over there arguing about who is the best returner in Green Bay Packers for the Green Bay Packers in a while. Allen Rossum was really good in my time here. So was Keyshawn Nixon. His first year here was spectacular. So Randall Cobb was really good his first. As a matter of fact, Randall Cobb's first touch of a NFL football ever was returned for a touchdown. But as far as the best returners, the best return teams now you go back to like the Desmond Howard days, obviously Desmond Howard was pretty good. But Allen Rossum was probably about the best on a consistent basis because you always felt like he'd break one open. And even if he didn't take it to the house, you knew there was. I remember being in Allen Rossum was the last guy that every time he got the ball in the press box, when you're sitting there in the press box watching a game, you were holding your breath. Like you felt like, kind of like maybe Bears fans felt with Devin Hester. Now, obviously, he didn't have the return game Devin Hester had, but he had that capability. He may not rip one off for 80-yard touchdowns, but he was ripping it off for 40 yards, 50 yards, 20 yards consistently and getting it. I mean, he was avoiding tackles, advancing the football, flipping the field at times, and they had really good blocking units as well. So those are the guys that I remember that stick out in my mind. So I just wanted to take care of that. All right, I know we got to run. We're in a fast hurry today. So we've got the NFC and the AFC championship games. Let's see here because we got to get to it.
We're not in that much rush. There's only 2 games.
We got 2 games in 3 minutes.
But we want to give all of our high-level analysis to our listeners here.
Right.
We don't want to shortchange people.
Yes. What's our first game? The first game up on the docket, I think, on Sunday is New England on the road in Denver, correct?
Yep. New England at Denver. It's at 2:00. New England's favored by 5.5 because the Broncos are starting Jared Stidham.
I got to take New England, and I'll take them giving the points. I don't know what Stidham's going to bring to the table. I do know they have a tremendous defense, but Drake May was fantastic. Fantastic. Drake May, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns, a quarterback rating over 100 in the AFC divisional game. So I'll take him. Drake May's been really good. Trayvon Henderson's been really good. Harold Landry's been a beast with tackles for losses and pressures. They got it on both sides of the ball. I'll go with the New England Patriots.
Patriots should win. I'm with you. The only thing that would stop him is Drake May fumbling a couple of times, which has been a little bit of a problem the last 2 weeks. It hasn't killed him yet. I don't think it'll kill him against Jared Stidham, but they are on the road. I will take New England as well. 5.5 is a good amount of points.
Yeah.
In that venue, but it's Jared Stidham.
Right.
And if Drake May hits 2 or 3 big throws like he did last week, that could be the difference.
Yeah, I don't see Stidham bringing them back too if they get down.
It'll be a massive feather in Sean Payton's cap. Holy crap.
Right?
But
unbelievably. Yeah, and I'm not a Sean Payton fan. I mean, not as a person, but as a coach, he's tremendous.
I bet he's doing some work this week as the underdog angle. And I don't know. That game should be juicy because the NFL, weird things happen. Los Angeles is in Seattle. This is the 3rd time these 2 teams have played. 5:30 on Fox. Seattle at home favored by 2.5.
Will the real Sam Darnold please stand up? The NFC divisional game. he had a quarterback rating of 110. He was really good. Although I got to say, if I'm going to go with experience, I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford. Puka Nacua is an absolute beast. Seattle's got a really good, much, much better defense than Chicago does. I just don't know if they're going to pull it off. I really want to say Seattle, but something in my gut tells me that the other, can you believe it? If LA wins and the Patriots win, both home teams win, or both road teams win in the conference championship games.
Yeah, how about that?
That'd be crazy.
Both 2 seeds.
Yeah. Puka Nacua, by the way, comes in with 9 yards less on the season than Jackson Smith and Jigba. 9 yards less. That's
just
it.
2 monsters.
And both guys
players.
have 10 touchdowns on the season. Monster. Then they've got Devontae Adams, who, by the way, has more touchdowns than both of them.
Yeah, how many would Puka have if not for Devontae Adams?
He's got 14. With that, I got to go. I got to go with the Rams. And I'm kind of, to be honest with you, I'm kind of hoping Devontae gets there.
I have nothing against the Rams. I have nothing against either one of these teams. I'll pick the Seahawks because they have figured out a way to only need Sam Darnold to throw for 180, 200 yards.
Yeah.
If they can keep that game script, if they can keep that game in the place that they did the last couple of games, I think I like Seattle at home. I don't think the Rams defense is good enough. I think they're just a little flimsy, but I can see them winning. I'll take Seattle.
There you go. The Rams, Seattle. I've got the Rams. You got Seattle. We both have New England getting a win. So there you go.
Which I don't really love. I'm not happy that New England got this nice rosy primrose path.
I know.
To be right back.
I know.
I don't dislike the players. I just don't like really they're back.
Right.
Whatever.
I get it. All right, that's going to do it for us. We got one more next Wednesday night, and then we head to San Francisco and Santa Clara and get you ready for Super Bowl 60. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging with us. We certainly appreciate it. Time for us to go until